Let me start with something uncomfortable. I have seen many serious aspirants, very sincere people who study 12 hours, sometimes 14 hours a day. They read the economic survey line by line. They memorize data. They follow every current affairs update. They track every scheme. And still, when they walk into the exam hall, they freeze, they hesitate, they doubt themselves, they are not able to decide. Now, the question is, why does this happen? Because they knew the price of everything, but they did not understand the value behind it. And that the real problem with economy preparation, not effort, not sources, understanding. UPSC is not asking economy, it is asking systems. Most aspirants prepare economy like a subject. UPSC asks economy like a living system. And unless you shift from subject to system, economy will always feel unpredictable. Let me explain how UPSC asks question. Earlier, UPSC asked to UPSC used to ask very direct questions like what is repo rate, what is inflation, recognition, that is recognition stage. Then it changed. It started asking if repo rate increases, what happens? This is application phase, recognition to application. UPSC framing the question pattern has changed. Now we are in a different phase. Now UPSC asks in a very specific pattern, that is statement type. Statement 1, statement 2. And the real question is the given statement 1 and the given statement 2 also. And the real question is, does one explain the other? This type of questions they are asking. UPSC is not testing whether you know something or not. It is testing whether you understand the relationships between those statements and overall understand relationships. Even if you don't know a term, if you understand the system, you can still eliminate options. You don't need full knowledge, you need correct elimination. Prelims is not solved by finding the right answer. It is solved by eliminating the wrong ones. So here are the five systems are there. That is physical federalism, digital money, monetary and bonds, fiscal deficit, and financial stability. These are five systems we are going to discuss in depth. These five systems are going to control zones for economy for 2026 prelims. So we are going to very depth of systems. One is system one, that is fiscal federalism. Now let us start with system one, fiscal federalism. This is one of the most important systems for 2026. Fiscal federalism is the power structure of Indian economy. Let me explain this slowly. This system has three layers. Fiscal federalism system has three layers. That is collection, distribution, and borrowing control. That is collection, distribution, and control. These three layers. Now go step by step. Like layer 1, collection. What is the collection process? Most major taxes are collected by the center, like income tax, corporate tax, GST, like goods and services tax, etc. This is the layer 1, that is collections phase. This is then layer 2, that is distribution system. Then comes here finance commission. It decides how money is shared between state and centers, between states and center. For that matter, local governments also. This is the distribution system. This is the distribution phase. Next, that is layer 3, control. This is very important layer. Now comes the hidden layer, that is borrowing control. States cannot freely borrow. They need approval from the center. This is the layer most students ignore. Now think, if center controls collection, distribution, and borrowing, who really controls the system? The answer is the center. Now UPSC may give a statement like states are financially independent. Ask yourself, do they control borrowing? No. Do they control tax pool fully? No. Then eliminate. Sometimes they put a trap like cess and charges are not shared. So what happens? States get less money. UPSC will not ask like this directly. It will trap indirectly. So we will discuss about fiscal federalism, few terms most important for examination. Those are vertical devolution, the percentage of the divisible pool of taxes that goes from the center to the states. This is called vertical devolution, the percentage of divisible pool of taxes that goes from the center to the states. Currently 41% as per the 15th Finance Commission, vertical devolution. This is the main pipe of money. So, horizontal devolution. What is meant by horizontal devolution? The formula is used to divide that 41% among the states based on criteria like population, forest cover, and tax effort. This is called as horizontal devolution. This is where the North versus South debate lives. Divisible pool. What is divisible pool? The portion of the central taxes that must be shared. This is divisible pool. UPSC also set traps here, like cess and surcharge are excluded from this pool. They are the center's private pocket. So you have to observe all the dimensions of physical federalism, like these terms: taxes, center, collection, distribution, borrowing control, finance commission, etc. Then only you can solve physical federalism type of questions easily in the examination hall without much difficulty. So we are moving to system number 2, that is digital money. So now we move to digital money. What is digital money? Money is not just a currency, it is a system of trust. Let me simplify. There are three layers: RBI, banks, and public. Three layers. Normally, RBI gives money to banks, banks give money to public. Banks also create money by through lending, etc. Now, CBDC changes this. Digital money. CBDC allows public to hold money directly with RBI, bypassing what? Banks. Now think carefully. If people move money to CBDC, banks lose deposits. If banks lose deposits, lending reduces. If lending reduces, credit creation reduces. If credit creation reduces, money multiplier falls. So, if people move money to CBDC, what will happen at the end of the day? At the end of the system, money multiplier falls. So, CBDC changes who creates money in the economy. UPSC may say in the exam, CBDC improves efficiency. This type of statement. Then you have to think deeper. If banks lose lending power, is that fully positive? Eliminate blindly. No. Think. UPSC also set few traps. like CBDC is not UPI. CBDC is not just digital payment. UPSC will test confusion, not definitions. CBDC is central bank money. UPSC is not equal to CBDC. CBDT is not digital payment. You have to careful these traps, these statements. UPSC will test confusion with these traps. We also learn few terms regarding this system to digital money. What are they? Money multiplier. What is meant by money multiplier? The process by which commercial banks create new money by lending out a portion of their deposits. What is money multiplier? The process by which commercial banks create new money. How? By lending. By lending. To whom? Public. From where they lending? A portion of their deposits. This is the process. This is the process by which commercial banks create new money by lending out a portion of their deposits. This is called as money multiplier. If money moves to CBDC, this multiplier breaks because the money isn't in a commercial bank to be lent out. This is directly goes to RBI, to public, bypassing banks. So, what is central bank liability? Unlike UPI, CBDC is a direct claim on the RBI. It is a digital cash. UPI is a claim on a private bank. CBDC is direct claim on the RBI. It is digital cash. Pro- Programmability. What is programmability? A feature of CBDC where money can be tagged for a specific use. That is called as programmability. Let's say example, agriculture subsidies that can only be spent on fertilizers. This is programmability. These are the terms and things related to digital money. We will move to another system, that is system number 3, monetary system and bond system. Now let us move to monetary system and bond markets. This is where most aspirants lost marks. Why? Because they try to memorize the terms instead of understanding relationships. Let me simplify this step by step. Actually, what is the basic structure of the monetary system and bond markets? Government needs money. So what does it do? It borrows. How does it borrow? By issuing bonds like government bonds, sovereign bonds, etc. Now, who buys these bonds? investors. Let it be banks, institutions, or foreign investors. Now, understand the key idea here is interest rate is nothing but the yield on these bonds. That is interest rate. So, interest rates are not fixed, they are discovered in the market. Now, focus carefully bond price and bond yield move in opposite direction. Bond price and bond yield move in opposite direction. If bond price goes up, yield goes down. If bond price goes down, yield goes up. Now, why does this happen? Because the interest is fixed, but price keeps changing. So if price increases, return percentage decreases. Inverse relationship, both bond price and bond yield. So in the exam, UPSC may give you a statement like this: bond price and yield move together. For this, you don't need theory, you don't need memory. Just recall, it is opposite direction. Eliminate. So now we add one more layer. Foreign investors enter India. What they do? They buy Indian bonds. Now think, if demand increases, what happens to price? Price increases. If price increases, what happens to yield? Automatically yield falls. So if foreign inflow increase, demand increase. If price increase, yield decrease. This is the flow. This is the flow of the monetary system. This is how global money affects your interest rates. Now imagine too much money is coming. What happens? Rupee strengthens. Too much strengthening is also a problem. So what does RBI do? RBI buys dollars. When RBI buys dollars, what will happen? It releases rupees through buying. Liquidity increases. But too much liquidity is also dangerous. Then what will happen? So RBI does one more step. What is that? That is open market operations. For what? What is the reason? It absorbs liquidity. This process is called sterilization. Buy dollars, it absorbs liquidity. This process leads to sterilization. So UPSC may combine bond yield, bond yield, foreign inflow, RBI action. Don't panic, just follow the flow. Flow understanding beats memorization. Let's say bond yield. What is the bond yield? The actual percentage return an investor gets on a bond, whether it is interest or some, whatever it may be. The rule: if you buy a bond for more than its face value, your percentage return goes down. If price increases, automatically yield decreases. You already know. So one more word: sterilization. What is sterilization? The intervention by RBI to mop up excess liquidity created when they buy foreign dollars to keep the rupee stable. We already discussed foreign investors. If invest increases, what will happen? RBI buy dollars. Then with buying dollars, what will happen? Rupee goes out. When rupee goes out, liquidity may done. Then through open market operations, liquidity absorbed through RBI to keep the rupee stable. So let's we repeat sterilization again. The intervention by RBI, Reserve Bank of India, to mop up excess liquidity created when they buy foreign dollars to keep the rupee stable. It's the RBI's cleaning operation after a massive inflow of foreign money. So then we move to global bond index, a shopping list for global investors. India's inclusion means billions of dollars must flow into government bonds, Indian government bonds automatically. This is global bond index. If the statement like this, UPSC may given in the exam, price and yield same direction, then what will you do? Eliminate simply. So we are moving to next phase, system number 4, that is fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit. What is fiscal deficit? This is most misunderstood concept in economy. Most students think deficit is bad. That is incomplete thinking. Let me explain this very much carefully in the simplest possible way. Let's say government spends more than it earns. More than it earns. The gap is called deficit. Spending much more than earning. Simply, the gap called deficit. And how is this gap filled? By borrowing. Now imagine the entire economy as a bus. This bus has limited seats. These seats represent like available credit in the system. Now watch carefully. Government enters the bus and starts taking seats. More borrowing, more seats taken. Now what happens to the private sector? They don't get seats. They are forced to stand outside. That is called crowding out. Government takes credit, private sector losses access. This is the credit out system. Now think differently. Government uses that borrowing for infrastructure, roads, ports, logistics, etc. What happens now? Cost of doing business reduces, efficiency increases. Now private sector thinks now it is profitable to invest. They come back into the system. That is crowding in, crowd out and crowding in. In crowding in infrastructure efficiency, all automatically private sector investments increasing. Same deficit, two outcomes: bad crowding out, good crowding in. UPSC may given like this statement: fiscal deficit always harms growth. Is it always? No. Eliminate. So as far as 2026 angle, focus will be on quality of spending, capex versus revenue, capital expenditure versus revenue expenditure. You have to be focused on these things: quality of spending, capex versus revenue. UPSC is not directly asking deficit, it is asking what deficit is doing. What is capital expenditure? Money spent on creating assets. That is called as capital expenditure, like roads, construction, bridges, 5G, etc. This is good debit because it creates future income. What is the debt sustainability? The ability of a country to pay back its debit without needing a bailout or crashing its currency. That is called as debit sustainability. The ability of a country to pay back its debit through what? Without needing a bailout or crashing its currency. That is called debit sustainability. What is crowding out? When heavy government borrowing raises interest rates, making it too expensive for the private sector to borrow, the government takes all the seats on the credit bus. This is called crowding out. This is the logic behind the system number 4, that is fiscal deficit. Next, we are moving to financial stability, that is system number 5, and this is the last system. This is invisible until it breaks. That is the financial stability system. Let me explain this visually is very carefully. Imagine a row of dominoes. Each domino is a financial institution. Banks, those in financial institutes like banks, NBFCs, mutual funds. Now, what happens if one domino falls? It hits the next, then the next, and then the next. Soon the entire system collapses. Most students focus on the falling domino, but UPSC is not testing the falling domino. It is testing the connection, the system flow. NBFC fails, banks exposed, liquidity tightens, then confidence falls, then crisis spreads. This is systemic risk. You have to understand the system flow. Now think, if an institution is very large and very connected, its failure will affect everyone. This is called interconnectedness. So what should RBI do in this case? Regulate it more strictly. The bigger the domino, the stronger the control. Let me take in one statement regarding exam purpose. NBFC failure does not affect banks. This is the statement you have to think once. Are they connected or not? Are they connected? Yes, they connected. So eliminate the statement. So these type of statements usually UPSC asking in the test, in the exam, testing the students' ability to solve correct answers, solve the question. So as far as 2026 prelims economy is purpose as concerned, will focus mainly few things: systemic risk, scale based regulation systemic risk and scale based regulation. What is the systemic risk? The risk that the failure of one domino, like a major NBFC, will cause the entire financial system to collapse. This is called systemic risk. What is scale based regulation? What is meant by scale based regulation? The RBI's framework, where bigger, more connected NBFCs are regulated almost as strictly as banks. This is called scale based regulation. What is the rule? The bigger the risk you pose to the system, the tighter the leash RBI puts on you. The bigger the risk, bigger the control. Simply, this is regarding financial stability, systemic risk, scale based regulation, etc. Now, let me tell you something honestly. If you prepare economy as facts, you will forget in the exam. There is no doubt. If you prepare economy as systems, you will eliminate options with confidence. There is the difference between facts and systems, Himalayan difference. So UPSC does not test memory, it tests economic thinking. You have to identify and understand this carefully. So stop collecting PDFs, stop chasing current affairs blindly, start understanding systems. This is how ranks are made. So these are the systems, these are the control systems, these are the things for economy 2026 prelims is probable themes. These systems, we have to focus on these themes, these systems, and understand the systems and practice the marks very much carefully. Then you can easily control the paper in the examination. That is how ranks are made. Start understanding systems. Stop chasing current affairs blindly. Stop collecting PDFs. I am Niranjan Ankilla. This is Metis IAS. Thank you.